So working with the Bedela communities, I started off my research career doing. I found that the Bedela people in Kutch were very clearly Indian. They identified very strongly with India, with the Indian cricket team and all of those sorts of things. But as I learned more about them and their world, I discovered that there was a very similar Bedela community in Kenya, mostly in Mombasa, but some in Nairobi, but mostly in Mombasa. And in Mombasa, the community is as big as it is in Kutch. They speak the same language. They have the same distinct mosques with the short minarets and the green zigzag around the side of the minarets. And in many ways, it's impossible to say which is the original community and which is the migrant community. Is the original community in Mombasa or in Kenya, or is it in Kutch? And when you look at those people, without wishing to sound crude, they have Indian Ocean faces. They don't belong to one side or the other, a darker Africa or a lighter India. They're an Indian Ocean people who are not really one or the other. And I find that a really interesting way of thinking about the Indian Ocean space as a space that existed before nation states, and certainly before the rather aggressive post-colonial nation states where India, Pakistan, the rise of nationalism in Africa, and all of those sorts of forces have really created stronger boundaries and distinctions between racial and national groups than perhaps there before. I also think it's quite wonderful and quite counterintuitive to know that in the 19th century, East Africa was governed from Bombay. That Bombay was the capital, so to speak, of East Africa. Now that's a sort of peculiar geography, that the capital is on the opposite side of the ocean to the lands that were being governed by the British. And I also think it's quite important to remember in that period of British imperial history that East Africa wasn't governed from London. East Africa was governed from Bombay, and Bombay was governed from London. So there was a sort of hierarchical relationship in the way that worked. But the fact that the Indian Ocean was governed from Bombay in some ways probably reflected more of a reality of the Indian Ocean than perhaps the British administration realised at the time.